Something just happened in this war that could shake the entire global economy. Tonight, the United States bombed Kharg Island. And if you don't know what Kharg Island is, you need to watch every second of this video, because what just happened is not just a military strike. It is the most dangerous ultimatum in modern history, one that could send oil prices out of control, that could crash stock markets worldwide, that could make everything in your life, food, fuel, heating, dramatically more expensive. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what Iran threatened back. It will shock you. Hit subscribe right now. Drop a comment if you're watching live. Let's go. Most people have never heard of Kharg Island, but Kharg Island is one of the most strategically important pieces of land on Earth. Here are the facts. It is a tiny island just 5 miles long, located off the southwest coast of Iran in the Persian Gulf. It sits 55 kilometers from the Iranian mainland. It's so heavily militarized that tourists are banned. Ordinary Iranians cannot visit. But here is why Kharg Island matters to every single person watching this video. 90% of Iran's crude oil exports pass through Kharg Island. Every year, approximately 950 million barrels of oil flow through its pipelines, storage tanks, and loading terminals. The oil goes from Iran's onshore fields through undersea pipelines to Kharg Island, and from there onto tankers heading to China, India, and global markets. Without Kharg Island, Iran has almost no oil income. Without oil income, Iran cannot fund its military, cannot pay its soldiers, cannot sustain this war. That is why, for the entire first 2 weeks of this war, Kharg Island was left completely untouched. The U.S. and Israel struck nearly everything else, but not Kharg. Analysts were watching, wondering, when would it happen? Tonight, it happened. Let me give you the exact sequence of events tonight. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced earlier today that U.S. forces would conduct, and I'm quoting the reported statement, "the most intense strikes today." That was the warning. Nobody knew the target. Then Trump posted on Truth Social, and here is what he said. I'm paraphrasing the reported post. He said, U.S. Central Command just executed one of the most powerful bombing raids in the history of the Middle East. Every military target on Kharg Island totally obliterated. He said the weapons used were the most powerful the world has ever seen. Then, and this is the part that changes everything, he said, for reasons of decency, I have chosen not to wipe out the oil infrastructure on the island. Read that again. He chose not to destroy the oil. He didn't do it out of weakness. He did it as a message. And then he made the threat explicit. He said, if Iran or anyone does anything to interfere with the free and safe passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, he will immediately reconsider that decision. That is an ultimatum. Open the strait, or we destroy your oil infrastructure next. And if that happens, the global energy shock we are already experiencing gets exponentially worse. Share this video right now if you think people need to understand what this ultimatum actually means. Let's be specific, because the details matter. According to Iranian state media and confirmed by U.S. officials, the military facilities on Kharg Island were struck. The oil infrastructure was not damaged. What was hit? Reports from field sources cited by Iranian media describe strikes on the Joshan Sea Base, a naval military installation, the airport control tower, a helicopter hangar, Army defensive positions across the island. Trump posted video footage of the strikes on Truth Social. CNN geolocated the footage using satellite imagery, confirming it matched Kharg Island. The video shows massive explosions, black smoke rising over the island, multiple large blasts in sequence. More than 15 explosions were reported. The military infrastructure, the IRGC forces stationed there, the naval base protecting the oil terminals, the helicopters, the control systems are gone. What remains? The oil tanks, the loading terminals, the pipelines, all of it sitting there, intact, for now. That word, for now, is the most important phrase in global energy markets today. Iran responded fast. Iran's Qatam al-Anbiya military command issued a direct warning through state media. Any attack on Iran's oil and energy infrastructure will trigger immediate retaliatory strikes on regional oil facilities owned by companies with American shareholders or that cooperate with the United States. Think about what that means. Saudi Aramco has U.S. shareholders. Kuwait's oil industry cooperates with U.S. companies. The UAE's energy sector is deeply integrated with Western finance. If the U.S. strikes Kharg's oil infrastructure, Iran threatens to strike Gulf energy across the board. Saudi Arabia's Sheba oil field, Kuwait's terminals, UAE facilities. A retired U.S. Army official told CNN directly, if the oil infrastructure at Kharg is struck, oil prices could go out of control. Not $120, not $150, out of control. Meanwhile, the IRGC launched a fresh joint missile and drone attack on Israel in coordination with Hezbollah tonight. The U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, its helipad was struck in a missile attack. Qatar intercepted an incoming missile. Saudi Arabia intercepted 6 drones. This is not de-escalation. This is the war getting louder on every front simultaneously. Drop a comment. Do you think Iran will blink and open the Strait? Or will this escalate further? I want to know what you think. Here's where it gets interesting, and this is the detail that no headline is connecting for you. At the same time as the Kharg Island bombing, a senior Iranian official told CNN something extraordinary. Iran is considering allowing a limited number of oil tankers to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. But there is one condition: the cargo must be traded in Chinese yuan, not US dollars. Read between the lines. Iran is not backing down militarily, but it is quietly signaling a possible economic compromise, one that critically cuts the U.S. dollar out of the oil trade. This is not just a war about Iran's nuclear program or about regime change. This is also about the global financial order, about whether the U.S. dollar remains the currency of international oil trade. And Trump's response? He said he believes U.S. Navy escorts for tankers through the Strait will happen soon. Two sides, both signaling, neither blinking publicly. But behind the scenes, something is moving. Stay till the end, because I'm going to tell you what the realistic endgame looks like. And it's more complex than either side is admitting. Day 15. The numbers are growing. According to Al Jazeera, at least 1,444 people have been killed in Iran since February 28th. Over 18,550 were injured. 773 people were killed in Lebanon. 12 civilians killed inside Israel. Israel's military has now carried out approximately 7,600 strikes on Iran and 1,100 strikes in Lebanon since the war began. In Lebanon today, 12 medical workers were killed when a strike hit a healthcare center. 2 Lebanese academics were killed in strikes on universities in Beirut. And inside Iran, the internet blackout has now lasted 15 consecutive days. Over 80 million people cut off from the world, unable to call family abroad, unable to post, unable to verify what is happening in their own country. I want to stop here for a moment, because behind every number, there is a person, a mother, a father, a student, a doctor. 1,244 people in Iran, gone in 15 days. That is not a statistic. That is a catastrophe. Share this video if you believe the world should not forget these people in the middle of all the geopolitical chess. Let me connect this war directly to your life, because this is not abstract. Oil prices settled Friday at their highest level since July 2022, above $100 a barrel. Before this war, oil was $65. That is a 54% increase in 15 days. In the United States, gas prices hit a 22-month high of $3.63 per gallon, rising 3 cents in a single day. Indigo, one of India's largest airlines, announced it is levying a new fuel surcharge starting today, March 14th. That cost gets passed to passengers, to you. Fertilizer prices up 40%, wheat futures up 19%. Global shipping costs are rising weekly as vessels reroute away from the Persian Gulf and Red Sea, adding thousands of miles and millions of dollars to supply chains. The U.S. released 172 million barrels from its Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The IEA coordinated a historic 400 million barrel emergency release. Trump lifted sanctions on Russian oil, giving global markets access to Moscow's supply temporarily. And yet, oil is still above $100 because the problem is not supply. The problem is the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical energy choke point, still effectively closed. And now, after tonight's Kharg Island bombing, if Iran retaliates against Gulf oil infrastructure, the energy shock gets dramatically worse. a retired Army official told CNN, oil prices could go out of control. That phrase, out of control, means your fuel bills, your food prices, your heating costs, all of it, could jump in ways that dwarf anything we've seen in this decade. There is one story within this story that almost no channel is covering in depth. Iran is being run by a man the world has barely seen. Mojtaba Khamenei, son of the killed supreme leader, was appointed 9 days ago. As of today, he has still not appeared on camera, not once. His statements are read by others. His photograph is shown on state television, but the man himself, invisible. CNN reported directly, the Iranian people have not seen him or heard his voice since he became their supreme leader 6 days ago. Why does this matter? Because this is the man making the decisions. The man decides whether Iran opens the Strait, whether Iran accepts a ceasefire, whether Iran escalates further. And nobody outside Iran's inner circle knows where he is, what he looks like in person, or how he is making decisions. U.S. Defense Secretary Hegseth claimed this week that Mojtaba is likely disfigured, suggesting strikes may have already wounded him. If true, Iran is being led by an injured hidden leader, making war decisions from an unknown location with no public accountability. That is, by any measure, an unpredictable situation. Netanyahu said publicly he would not take out life insurance on the new supreme leader. That is his way of saying, we know where you are. The question is, does Iran's new leader believe that? And what will he do because of it? I want to give you the honest picture from people who study this professionally. A senior official in the region, speaking anonymously to NPR, said they expect the war to last at least another week. That same official said Israeli leaders increasingly believe the U.S. and Israel will end this war unilaterally, without a negotiated agreement. In that scenario, Iran and Hezbollah establish a new normal of intermittent fire at Israel, continuous low-level conflict, repeated Israeli retaliation, Israelis living with what the official called an intolerable war routine. That is not peace. That is a frozen conflict. Meanwhile, military analysts note that tonight's Kharg Island strike sends a specific signal. The U.S. is showing it can destroy Iran's ability to defend the Strait while holding the oil infrastructure hostage as maximum leverage. The message, we can take your income at any moment. Open the Strait or we will. This is labeled as analysis, but the facts support it clearly. I'm going to label this section clearly as my assessment, not confirmed fact. Here is how this ends. The Kharg Island strike, deliberately sparing the oil, is a signal that Trump wants a deal, not total destruction, a deal. The Iranian official's statement about allowing yuan-denominated oil trade through the Strait, that is Iran signaling it also wants something that looks like a win. The bridge between those two positions is Qatar. Qatar has maintained back-channel communications with both sides throughout this war. Qatar hosts the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East, Al Udeid Air Base, while simultaneously maintaining diplomatic relations with Iran. The realistic scenario, Qatar brokers a quiet agreement. Iran allows tanker passage through the Strait. The U.S. agrees not to strike Kharg's oil infrastructure. Neither side formally surrenders. Both claim victory. This could happen within days, or it could take weeks more of fighting. The variable nobody can predict. What does Mojtaba Khamenei, the hidden supreme leader, actually decide? Will you speak out about this war, or do you think the world is moving on too quickly? Tell me in the comments. Step back for a moment. 15 days ago, the Middle East looked completely different. Iran had a 36-year supreme leader. Nuclear talks were ongoing. Oil was 65. The Strait of Hormuz was open. The Gulf was at peace. Today, Iran's top leader is dead. A hidden, possibly wounded son runs the country. Oil is above $100. The Strait is closed. The Gulf is under daily attack. Dubai has been struck. Kuwait's airport hit. Bahrain under fire. A U.S. tanker went down with 6 dead. A French soldier was killed. 1,144 Iranians dead. 773 Lebanese dead. 3 million displaced. And now, Kharg Island is bombed, with a direct threat to destroy Iran's oil income next. This is not a regional conflict anymore. This is a war reshaping the global energy order, the global financial order, the global balance of power. And it started 15 days ago in the dark of pre-dawn Tehran, when the first bomb fell. The world will look different when this ends. The question is, How much worse does it get before it stops? You watched this entire video. You now understand what Kharg Island is, why tonight's bombing matters, what Trump's ultimatum means, what Iran threatened back, and where this could go next. Most people watching the news today saw a headline that said, U.S. bombs Iranian island. They scrolled past. They didn't understand why it matters to them. You do. Hit subscribe for daily updates as this war develops. Share this video with one person who needs to understand what's really happening, and answer this question in the comments. Do you think Trump's ultimatum will work, or will Iran escalate? I'll be back tomorrow with the latest. Stay informed, stay safe, and never stop asking questions.